Hey, welcome back. It's Rickey Chavez with Battle Ready. It's the process of reinventing yourself. You know, on a lot of our shows, we've had a lot of different clients or people that have talked to us about, you know, their journeys, you know, from wherever they are to wherever they are now to where they're going. And once again, we have an amazing guest on. I've known her for a long time. I've seen her in the staffing industry. I also know her now at Nora's home. We have Annette Monks. Hi, Annette.
Hello.
So we talked quite a bit today in the different shows on just your different direction that you had. And one of the things that I've always appreciated about you is your availability, not only a mentor, because I know a couple times, you know, throughout the years I had some bumps and bruises through my careers, and I reach out to say it, and we talk a little bit. And you know, I want to talk to you a little bit about mentoring. Talk to me, you know, what's your thoughts on mentoring and finding a mentor?
As yourself finding a mentor or being a mentor?
Kind of both.
Okay. So it's everybody hopefully has a champion in their life, you know, who will be there simply to see you succeed, not for the purpose of helping them to succeed, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So sometimes, you know, your person that is your champion may not be in your company, or they may not even be in your industry. So a lot of times, you know, you can join groups that, you know, have people who can be your mentors formally, or you can just find someone that you admire and you're like, I like the way they operate, not just the position they're in, but how they operate. And ask them and just say, is it possible that from time to time, you know, I could come to you and just learn from you? And not a big formal program where you're filling out forms or any of that. Just learn from you. And it's amazing how many people are super flattered by that and will be there for you and will take an interest in you. And that did happen to me before with a female with another company who was an executive. And I liked the way she operated. I liked the way she was with her people. I liked the respect that she got. And she had a great reputation. And you know, so she had a great personal brand, and I found her to be very engaging every time I talked to her. So even though she was in a position significantly, you know, higher than I was at the time, and I asked her if she would, you know, from time to time be my mentor. Absolutely. So as my mentor, though, my job was to come to her and ask questions and to be prepared for our meetings, not the other way around. She doesn't prepare some training curriculum for me. It's more me coming to her, and it was super valuable for me. So that's on that side.
Okay.
You know, I have been very flattered for people to ask for for me to mentor them. I've been in programs that are formal within the National Association that were mentor programs, but also people who just don't call me a mentor. They just call me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So,
sure.
And they say, hey, can you go to lunch? And I've got a question about how you do this in the business. And I love those conversations, you know, because ultimately I want to help everybody. We, as an industry in staffing, needed to make sure we did it right. And so if they don't do it right, then that hurts me.
Sure.
So you know, I did have people come to me for that, and I always learned. You know, when you're helping someone else, you kind of do your own research and make sure that you know what you're talking about.
Sure.
So I found that I learned as well, and they always had something they could teach me, which I told them, which made them have more confidence in themselves, because they're like, oh, I've got something to teach. And everybody's got something to teach.
No, I totally agree with you. I know that I really believe in mentoring for sure. And in the military growing up, you know, it's all about teaching everybody to take your position so you can get promoted. In the civilian world, it's a little different. Everybody's a little scared. They hold everything close to their chest because they're afraid that their place is going to be eliminated. Somebody's going to take over. But I mean, I know how open you've always been to receiving the calls about being a mentor or talking to people, because I know throughout the years, I'm sure we've been to many, many lunches on both sides just to kind of figure out where we're going, what we're doing, or just to, you know, check up on each other. And I think that one of the things I really, really appreciate about people out there is if you seek, you will find, but you can't seek from your home.
Not from the couch.
No. You know, and then there, woe is me, and I can't do anything. And there's, like you said earlier, there's so many ways out here for people to engage people or find a mentor. I think I had a friend tell me one time, there's two things people like to do is talk about themselves and help others.
Well, the most challenging, regarding mentorship, the most challenging behavior that I deal with is someone who doesn't take accountability for what they do. Or they don't, at least, if something bad happens to them, they don't think, okay, what could I have done better, different, how do I move from here? Instead, they're, woe is me.
Sure.
And so, woe is me gets you nowhere. Woe is me is just negative, and there's no, it's not productive at all. So if somebody can't get out of that, pull themselves out of it, I find it really hard to mentor them personally.
I had a friend who was telling me about the one-on-ones he does with his people, and he has 16 or 17 KPIs, is what he said, and A, B, C, D is the way he does it. A is good, B is okay, C is needs some help, D is straight up doo-doo. And I thought that was pretty funny. But the one thing, because I've got that personality. But anyway, he says when he walks through it with his people, he doesn't grade them; they grade themselves.
Yeah.
And as they grade themselves, he asks some questions because a lot of people grade themselves higher than maybe they should be, self-value, but they are not being honest with themselves. And it goes back to what you said, right? Why did this happen? Do I take some ownership of it, right? And I think the one thing that he left with me that really made a lot of sense is you can tell somebody they're bad, but unless they believe it, there's not going to be a change.
I remember when I first started doing reviews, don't know if you remember this, but
okay.
Let's say you rate yourself on different things from 0 to 10.
Okay.
And that's the rating. 10 being the best ever, you should get a major promotion, you're awesome, and 0 being, doo-doo.
Challenge. Doo-doo, that's right.
So what I found is we'd have people rate themselves, I would rate them, and we'd come together and see if there were any big gaps, right?
Okay.
And so I would always go to the first review, never giving them any information about how I reviewed them. And what I found is that they gave themselves, if they did their job as needed, they gave themselves a 10. And so I rated them, if they did their job as needed, I gave them a 5. Because, 5 was right in the middle and 5 was good job. 10 was amazing.
Yes.
Because if you rate yourself a 10, how are you going to get any better?
Sure.
So what does good look like? So of course I would have to come back if I rated someone a 5, and I would have to say this is what a 6 looks like, a 7, 8, 9, 10. This is what that looks like, and this is where you're going to separate yourself, the men from the boys, the girls from the women. When it comes to promotions, when it comes to production, when it comes to anything, if you're just doing your job, then you're doing your job. Good for you.
Right.
You can continue your job. However, if you want promotions and you want to, move up and be more productive, make more money, whatever, you got to do that 5 to 10, and you got to really want to be rated that way too, so that you can learn from it. Those who are like, I did it, I'm a 10, those people tend to stay put.
The one thing about that is, I think you said this earlier about when you found a mentor that you had to go to the mentor, not the mentor going to you. Yeah. So in the 5 to 10 window, if you don't know what that looks like, it's your responsibility to go, all right, I'm doing my job 100%, but what do I need to do, or what are some things I can do to move me up? And ask those questions. And I think today's environment, people, I don't know if they're scared to do it, they're just not, they don't grow up on learning to ask those questions. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's some entitlement, that happens with people when they get a job, and I don't know. It's I feel like people just I don't hear as often, how can I get better? Not how do I get promotions, etc. Just how do I get better? The pride in getting better, and those people naturally are promoted, naturally make more money. So maybe it's the mindset. It's almost like the mindset of going into management. I want to be a manager. Why do you want to be a manager? Because of ego? Because of making that money? Why? Or is it because you want to make someone else better?
That's a good point.
The fact is, I have found people manage like they parent, and so.
Okay. I had to think that through real fast.
Either they're super available at all times, right? And they give honest responses, they're fair, can be tough or not. If they let people run amok or whatever, then it's kind of chaos. But if they have some discipline, I'm sure you have this with your military background,
Sure.
some discipline in what's done and manage expectations, there's a different outcome. So it's just kind of, it's interesting to see people, when I see them parent, I'm like, okay, I know how they're going to manage.
Well, think about this whole conversation. I think it goes back to one of the things I wanted to ask you. So, what kind of advice would you give to somebody out there that maybe is at a turning point in their career, or maybe is stagnated, or maybe wants to do a better rating, get a better rating? How would they go about that, you think?
Well, I think exposure to other things. So, whether you go out to networking organizations or you just go to meetings, anywhere where other people are doing other things because you're enlightened, and you're like, wow, never knew that existed, never knew Nora's home existed,
Sure.
never knew this existed. So, or I didn't know that person knew this person who could introduce me here, to your point earlier. So I think just exposure to something different than what you're doing now is the first step. You don't have to go to all these management classes, and you can, and that's amazing.
Sure.
But how about just look up, get out from the phone, look up, and meet people, learn what they do, and you'll probably come up with ways to get you off of that fence that you're on.
Okay. Well, listen, Annette, as always, it's fun talking with you. We're moving on to a commercial in a minute. But one of the things that I want you to really think about out there is open your doors, go out there. And the person it doesn't have to be in the same industry. They can be anywhere. You see somebody doing great things, learn how to do great things. Again, we're getting ready to go into commercial. Hope everybody's having an amazing day. Look forward to seeing you later.